morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are in the world.
Good morning.
My name is Claudia Kaiser from the Frankfurt Book Fair, and I'm very excited to present to you today a very interesting seminar from which will be handled and where we will present titles from our guest of honor country in 2025, which is the Philippines. Lots of interesting information, lots of interesting titles which will be pitched by the publishers from the Philippines. We have 10 publishers, and each publisher will be presenting around 2 titles. We are on a very strict time zone, so we are not going to waste anyone's time. Anyway, I'm really, really excited. Just a little bit of information. Housekeeping wise, we will share the recording of this meeting on our website of the Frankfurt Book Fair, as well as our Translators Forum website. I'm sure you've been there before. After this meeting, please everyone, we are a lot of people in this meeting, please everyone mute their microphones when you're not speaking, otherwise we'll have to do it. And we will also share the information about the contact persons of each publisher right after this meeting. With this, I will hand over to Charis Tugade, who is the Executive Director of the National Book Development Board of the Philippines, the main body who will be organizing the Frankfurt Book Fair's presentation, guest of honor presentation of the Philippines, and all the events that are happening in 2024, just before the fair and during the fair. Over to you, Charis.
Thank you, Claudia. Salamat po. Mabuhay. Again, my name is Charis Tugade from the Philippines. We run the National Book Development Board, and this is the government agency in charge of the trade book and textbook sector in the Philippines. And of course, we want to grow it. And again, thank you for sharing space with us and joining us today for about an hour and a half. So we are excited to present to you 10 publishers representing our 7,641 islands. A little bit about the Philippines. We are in Southeast Asia. Our neighbors are Indonesia, Malaysia, and Taiwan. And of course, we have the best beaches. If you have not been here, please come over. We will be glad to host all of you. So you can learn more about our stories and just hang out with us. Our history, 333 years colonized by Spain and 44 by the United States. So we're Southeast Asian, but yet our last names are all, if you look at the Filipinos that are here, our last names are all Spanish, Espanol, and we're American-ish because we have the American education system, and everything we consume, our media, our products are mostly American. So this is why I sound like this. But yeah, 1/5 of our population live and work abroad. So you've probably met a Filipino in the creative industry and in hospitality industry or anywhere. You've probably met a Filipino. But many of our stories reflect this history. So we're quite excited to share it with all of you today. But with that, aside from our publishers and the wonderful books that they will present to all of you, and hopefully you can pick it up, we have a translation grant that we would like to offer all of you. Vince? Okay, so this translation grant, all of you can apply if you buy translation rights from a book from the Philippines, but it must be published in the Philippines and written in any Philippine language. Again, there are many Filipinos all around the world, but you can't pick up their stories. If it's from another country, it has to emanate from the Philippines, and there must not have an existing translation on the language that you are applying for. The subsidy, what is available to you. So we have from Children's Lit, we have $1,200 available, young adult culinary travel, graphic novels, classics, and contemporary fiction. That's about 2,600. Oh yeah. So our contemporary fiction, nonfiction, we have 4,500 USD that is available to you. And this grant program has been available all year. We actually started, I think, last year, but we are on our 3rd cycle. So you can apply at any time between August 1st to the 30th of November. If you have any questions, you can go and check our QR code and the link that is here, so you can quickly take a picture of that. And we have Vince who will be uploading the information as well on your chat box. Deadlines for application again is the 30th of November, and then we let you know around Christmas time. So that is our Christmas gift to you. So yes, I'm sorry. So again, thank you very much for joining us and sharing space with us. If you have any questions, I will place my email on the chat box. And yes, looking forward to collaborating with all of you. Again, thank you very much and welcome to the Philippines.
Thank you, Therese, for this great information, especially about the translation program, but also about the Philippines. I'm in Berlin right now and the sun is out, but I would love to go to a beach. But before we do that, we will listen to some more stories from the Philippines. With this, I would like to hand over to Marcella Melin, who's from Litprom, an organization that specializes on promoting literature from all around the world, especially in Germany. And Marcella will guide us through the session and will introduce you to all the publishers and the presenters who will be promoting and presenting the titles. Over to you, Marcella.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you very much, Therese, and everyone who's here. A very warm welcome from my side as well. We are quite an international round today, so that's really great. And I will not waste any more time because we have, as it's been said, a strict schedule. There's 6 minutes per publisher and there's 10 publishers who are waiting to share their titles with you. And my job is just to keep an eye on the time. I will be strict with that. And then also to introduce the person who's going to speak to you, so you know who you are dealing with. And I would say let's start right away with the first publisher, who is 19th Avenida. And the presenter will be Nida Ramirez, who is the rights manager.
Guten Tag, I'm Nida Ramirez of 19th Avenida. We primarily publish fiction, humor, and comics or graphic novels. We roughly started in 2019 and went full blast during the pandemic years. We made news in 2021 when our graphic novel Trece was released as an anime series by Netflix. And just recently, the German edition for Trece was published by Dantes Verlag. But for today, I will be presenting to you 2 of our best-selling crime novels. Our first book is The Abyss Beneath Our Feet. It is a crime novel of 57,000 words, written by Ronaldo Vivo Jr. And the story begins when Alison Ventura, a college student, does not come home one night, which forces her father, Ray, who's a hardware store owner, to plunge into a desperate search for her. Starting from a single unsent Facebook message, he went on to navigate a labyrinth of CCTV footages and social media shadows, uncovering a darkness within the law itself. Ray, of course, eventually finds his daughter broken but alive. And like a classic noir hero, his search uncovered the festering corruption within the very system which was supposedly designed to protect us. This book is for adult readers who crave thrilling, heart-pounding, and adrenaline-pumping stories. This book will keep you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. And The Abyss Beneath Our Feet is a highly graphic, vigilante detective novel that talks about police brutality, narcotics, and the previous administration's supposed war on drugs. This book became a finalist for 2 major book awards in the Philippines in 2023. The Filipino Reader's Choice Award and the National Book Awards for Best in Novel. We are on our second print run of the book, and just last April, we successfully launched its sequel. Currently, all rights are available, and we have already received interest for movie adaptation, one from a popular streaming service and another from a contemporary award-winning director. Our second book is Dwellers, which is written by Eliza Victoria. Eliza is one of the Philippines' most prolific speculative fiction authors. And Dwellers is a mystery story of 32,000 words about two young men with the power to take over another person's body. They inhabited the bodies and lives of brothers Jonah and Louis, and the takeover leads to a car crash, injuring Jonah's legs and forcing them to dwell longer while recovering in the brothers' house. They thought they were safe until they found a dead body in the basement. So the succeeding events led them to untangle the mystery of the brothers' lives and reconcile this with their own fate. Dwellers is an intense mix of mystery and urban fantasy. It involves body switching, abuse, murder, and revenge. It was originally published in 2014, and it won the National Book Awards for Best Novel in English. And we have already sold 3 foreign rights for the book. The world rights for English to Total Publishing, the Amharic translation for Ethiopia, and the Turkish translation for Turkey. The publication and subsidiary rights for the rest of the non-English market are still available. Should you be interested in any of these books, or if you're interested in both, please email me at avenidabooks@gmail.com. Or should you want to see any more of our collections and the complexities of the Filipino identity and stories, we'd gladly email you our catalog too. Again, my email address is avenidabooks@gmail.com. Thank you for your attention and time. Danke schön.
Thank you very much, Nida. Very well within your time. So the next publisher will be Anvil Publishing. And presenting to us today is Ariane Velasquez, who is a senior editor.
Hi everyone, I'm Ariane from Anvil Publishing, the official publishing arm of National Bookstore. We offer print and ebooks in a wide range of genres, from literary fiction, young adult, children's books, to nonfiction like history and culture and cookbooks. So the titles that I'll be presenting today is a fiction, novel, and a nonfiction. So first is The Solemn Lantern Maker by Merlinda Bobis, who is an award-winning author, poet, and dramatist. This is a literary fiction set in the Philippines during the global war on terror. The story is set a few days before Christmas. So Christmas in the Philippines means children singing carols, families exchanging gifts, stories of love and hope playing on television nonstop. But this is not that kind of story. Instead, we follow Noland, a mute 10-year-old who makes paper lanterns and then sells them on the streets of Manila. He gets caught in a drive-by shooting of a journalist where he witnesses an American tourist get shot. So Nolan tries to help her, brings her to the hut where he and his crippled mom live. From here, we see more of Nolan's world. We see the everyday chaos of the slums of Manila. These are recognizable scenes of Filipino life and Filipino culture. And then as the story goes on, we quickly realize that we're seeing a world of poverty where systems are set against the poor, where children are exploited and abused, where the poor are pawns to those in power, and where international politics, or the politics of the powerful first world, can deeply affect the third world countries like the Philippines. So following the injustices highlighted in the book and the realities that are presented, we end the story with Filipino officials prioritizing the rescue of the American tourist, and then making Nolan and his crippled mom the suspects and kidnappers and part of a terrorist cult, basically becoming scapegoats to the powerful. So they're interrogated when they just really want to make it home in time for Christmas. So that's The Solemn Lantern Maker. It's really beautifully written. It's dark with universal themes and induces emotions familiar to Filipinos today and really recognizable by anyone wherever they are in the world. So the next book is a nonfiction. This is actually published with a publication grant from the National Book Development Board. This has since been part of the National Bookstore bestseller list. It's a collection of essays by prolific public historian Ambeth Ocampo, who takes readers on a captivating and engaging journey through Philippine history by exploring a diverse array of artifacts. These are tangible objects that have played significant roles in shaping the Philippine identity, ranging from prehistoric relics to works of art by renowned Filipino artists to even objects that we see and use every day. So yeah, these reveal hidden stories and nuances, and Ambeth Ocampo told them all in this book in a very accessible way. So this goes beyond traditional historical narratives, proving that history should not be confined in just the written word, because even mute artifacts can provide insights to the Filipino experience. So yeah, this book features full color photos of the artifacts. It's like you're walking through a museum. And as a sneak peek, you can see some of them on the cover. So that's Cabinet of Curiosities. Thank you so much. And for inquiries, please feel free to reach out through the email addresses. And you can also check out our catalog through the QR codes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ariane, as well, very well in the time. So our next publisher will be Ateneo de Naga University Press. And presenting for us today is Christian Cordero, who is the director of this publishing house. Welcome, Christian.
The slide shows it's Ateneo de Manila.
Oh.
Okay, now it's Ateneo de Naga.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Allow me to introduce the Ateneo de Naga University Press that has been hailed as the rebel press in the Philippines for the 3 acts of rebellion we joyfully commit. Being a small university press located in the Bicol region, which is 400 kilometers away from Manila, we know that publishing may seem to be a daunting task, if not a losing business proposition. But this we resolve by maintaining that we are for advocacy over profits, and we are sustained by the generous support of our readers and writers and teachers who have forged a certain kind of bond that is deeply connected with our common aspirations, and that is to develop a diverse ecology of books and readers. Hence, the second act of rebellion is we continue to write and publish in our local languages and extend this kind of support to other regions in the Philippines, which we have been doing since our establishment in 2015. We have published writers not only in Bicol, but also in the Visayas and in Mindanao, giving us the opportunity to learn and listen to the other voices in our country. Further, as another act of rebellion, we have also been active in the works of translation and cultural diplomacy to bring the world to our literary consciousness. We have been translating European and other Western classics to the languages of our regions. We have the various translations of poetry and short stories from Hungary, Czech Republic, France, Spain, to mention a few. We take pride in publishing the poetry of Jorge Luis Borges and Franz Kafka's The Metamorphoses to our local and national languages. With these promising scenes of translations, may I now present to you the 2 books for your consideration. Both writers are in their 40s and advocates of the kind of rebellion the Ateneo de Naga University Press stands for. Gutierrez Mangansakan is one of the leading creatives based in Mindanao. He is an essayist, an anthologist, and an independent filmmaker whose films, both fiction and documentary, have also been recognized here and abroad. This book, Archipelago of Stars, published in 2016, is now on its 3rd printing. Growing up as a queer and a royal member, quote and unquote, of an old sultanate family in Maguindanao, Teng, as he is fondly called, weave his personal struggles and erudite observations in a region known as the land of the Moros, the other Filipino commonly viewed as violent, cunning, and for a lack of a better term, uncivilized. This kind of historical division that fractures the country between the Christians and the Muslims has never been discussed in the way Teng Mangansakan offers a poetic meditation on what it means to be fiercely independent and different, guarding his own queerness and his being Muslim like a talisman. Of interest in this book is his essay on his encounter with the writer Salman Rushdie in New York, and how Teng looked at this encounter and framed this within his own practices of creative resistance. Filled with personal details set within the context of his being Moro and queer creative, this is Mangansakan at his finest and most insightful. The other book is by medical doctor and anthropologist Gideon Lasco, whose column in the National Daily is widely read and cited by his readers and followers. A best-selling author, Lasco follows the line of many public intellectuals in this country who have made the newspaper, yes, still an old kind of media, but remains to be our best and potent source for initiating public discussions, ensuring that despite the prevalence of fake news and the rise of artificial intelligence, the good, reliable, and thought-provoking journalism remains a vital force in a democracy like ours. Hence, as readers, Lasco invites us that we must always seek for a second opinion. Second Opinion, Essays on Health, Culture, and Society, gathers his articles on the perils and promises of Philippine public health, the drug war, and from issues of mental health to the educational crisis. He offers a critical diagnosis for all of us as we pass through the portals of a post-pandemic world. Lasco, by offering a second opinion, is resolute that one must never lose hope. This book will be released this September 2024 in time for the Manila International Book Fair, and we are happy to note that we have already secured more than 1,000 pre-order copies for this book. The books of Mangansakan and Lasco, we are also pitching to US-based academic and independent presses, particularly in the West Coast. We are pitching Mangansakan essays to Malaysian and Spanish publishers, while we are now working on the Dutch translation of Lasco's Second Opinion. Thank you, and mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you very much. Our next publisher will be Ateneo de Manila University Press. And Camilla Baya will be presenting. She's the marketing head at this publisher. Camille, the stage is yours.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everybody. Again, I'm Camille Abaya. I handle marketing at Ateneo de Manila University Press. So a little bit about us. I'm providing here our QR code to our larger catalog. You can take a screenshot now and save it for later if you would like. But our bread and butter as a press is really the social sciences. We've actually published some of the seminal and landmark works in the fields of history, politics, sociology, and anthropology. But beyond our academic titles, we also do publish thought-provoking literary titles, including Tagalog classics and novels and short story collections in a variety of genres, including contemporary fiction, historical fiction, folklore and speculative fiction, political fiction, and even young adult. And because of that, we are actually the Publisher of the Year. We've been Publisher of the Year for the last 6 consecutive years at the National Book Award. And so today I'm going to be pitching 2 literary titles, one nonfiction and another one fiction. The first one is a nonfiction work, The Philippines is Not a Small Country by Gideon Lasco, also by the same author, brought forth by our sister press, Ateneo de Naga. So Gideon Lasco, as he mentioned, is a prolific columnist. And so this is a collection of essays, short, dare I say, bite-sized and very readable essays all about Filipino culture in the realms of anthropology, history, contemporary events, pop culture, and the author's own experiences and travels. So I have it here right now. In just a short volume of 228 pages, it really gives readers a very approachable and, let's say, beginner-level introduction to Filipino culture, taking us through topics that span from national identity all the way to our relationship to the rest of the world. There are essays about, for example, why Filipinos have a sweet tooth, our relationship to social media and selfie culture, and of course, even our connections to Europe, our cultural affinity towards Latin American countries. There's even an essay about what Filipinos can learn from how Germany runs its government. So it won the Best Book of Essays in English at the 39th National Book Awards. You could go to the next slide, please. And it has already had actually 9 print runs since its publication just in 2020. So just in time for the Philippines as guests of honor, it's a great beginner level introduction to Philippine culture and history, and would be of particular interest, I believe, to the Filipino diaspora audience, who we have heard is 1/5 of our population is based internationally. So that's The Philippines is Not a Small Country by Gideon Lasco. The next one is a fiction title, Isabella. It's a debut novel by Kaisa Aquino. So this novel is told through the seemingly separate but ultimately really interconnected stories of different women and characters and their roles and relationships in the ongoing insurgency in the Philippine countryside. So Isabella is actually a province in the Philippines, in the countryside, in a mountainous region in which it's a stronghold for armed activist movement and conflict, and has been for around 3 decades. So similar to books like Bernardine Evaristo's Grill Woman Other and even Natalie Haynes' A Thousand Ships, each chapter is actually the story of a different character and told through their point of view. Ultimately, the novel and each individual story ends with the women choosing in whatever form to continue the fight for the masses, despite the suffering and loss that this revolution has brought them. So this title, we think it's, even if it's just a debut novel, it's a great candidate for global distribution and translation, because despite being just a new release, it has already gotten very good reviews from reviewers and readers alike, readers of different age brackets and reader levels. And it's already sold around a little bit over 20% of its print run within the first month of its release. So we think it's perfect for readers of feminist fiction, of resistance literature, and even those who are interested in intergenerational sagas, because it takes place back and forth over 3 decades. And I think it will give international readers an understanding of the Philippines that is different from the dominant narratives, which are largely male-centric, Manila-centric, and even civilian, because this is, of course, a story of resistance and of revolution, which are really integral, not just to Filipino literature, but also to our very nationhood and history. So both of these books are written in English. Translation and distribution and subsidiary rights for both are all still available, and we would love to talk with you more about it. Again, we'll be flashing our catalog because we have many other titles like it that we think international audiences would love to read. And this is how you will contact us. So that's Ateneo de Manila University Press. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for this presentation, Camille. Wonderful. And our next publisher will be Isang Balangay Productions. Presenting will be Ronald Verso, and he's the publisher.
Good day, everyone. I'm Ronald. Balangay has been advocating grassroots literature. So our books are very particular about place. We believe that publishing should start from where you are. So we are after writers who want to be read by their immediate community before they get to be read in the national level. And now we are trying to bring them internationally. We've started by hopping these islands, giving workshops on how small community can make their own books. We were able to meet writers and get to read their works that merits publishing. And because of these, we were able to gather exciting and not so usual works of literature, which I guess is the reason why we have been winning national awards. And also because of this, Balangay has become a launchpad of new writing in the Philippines. Our work has led to the island of Catanduanes, where we met Nap Arcilia. Catanduanes is usually the island to welcome the storms coming from the Pacific Ocean. Maqueda is the sea that lies between the island to the main island of Luzon. It is the sea that they cross to find a better life somewhere. But this book is about the people who doesn't get to cross the sea. It's about them who relies on the sea. That you can see how it controls their lives. Arcelia gives voice to the marginalized fisher folks of the island. These people usually has the most interesting stories to tell. Nap was able to get inspiration from their stories and their storytelling to create such a unique book of fiction. This includes stories of a man who has affairs with a fish, a hired killer who uses poison from a puffer fish to do his thing, and he was even able to make a dirty urinal a beautiful setting for a love story. And these are all based from real life. Makeda was a finalist in the National Book Awards for short fiction and a winner of the Madrigal Gonzalez Best First Book Awards. Now, next slide. We go west to the island of Panay, to the province of Antique, where our next book comes from. The Sadness of Tongues tells the story of Sadia Sapanta Lopez. She was abandoned as a kid. Her parents were leaders of the New People's Army. She grew up in an environment that protects her from her own identity, from her connections to her missing parents, from the community's judgment about being a daughter of rebels and murderers. She grew up trying to piece together what happened before she was born. She navigates from one romantic relationship to another, trying to find something to understand herself or something to complete her. This novel is, in fact, the story of the children of the EDSA revolution. Sadia is a child of that revolution, which generations before her tried to protect from the dark times that happened during the martial law. And just like Sadia, those EDSA babies, we call them, are in search for that connection to a tumultuous past that they haven't completely understand. The generation before thinks they had already won the revolution and that their children will grow in a better environment. But just like Sadia, they are trying to make sense of how they go about their lives and how to build relationships. When Sadia was able to find her mother, she was surprised to know that she isn't in hiding, that she still actively works in building the nation and making sure the battle fought is continuously won. And the question goes back to these children. Why don't they recognize? And this can actually help us understand what is happening to the society right now and our decisions as a country. Lumbay ng Dila was a finalist in the National Book Awards, and the translation in English is already complete. Thank you. You can reach us at balangayproductions@gmail.com.
Thank you very much, Ronald. Thanks for your presentation. And up next, we have Mil Flores Publishing, who will be represented by Raisa Falgui, who is an editor. Raisa, are you there?
Yes. Guten Tag.
There you
I'm Raisa Falgui, editor at Mil Flores. We publish upmarket nonfiction and literary fiction, books that spark conversations, promote learning, and fuel the imagination. So the first title I'd like to share with you is our novel, All the Lonely People. The Persian language rights to this novel have been sold, and it may be made into a local series. It's set in Manila, a city that refuses to feel like home, and centers on Maria, who suffered a tragic loss. In this novel with 6 interlinked stories about loss, there is Maria, who's tragic loss and is the keeper of the lost and found book in her workplace. Entrusted with lost things and the stories they carry, she gains the courage slowly to rebuild her life in Metro Manila. So various ordinary residents of Manila have all lost and are resigned to the loss of a certain key object. perhaps keys, wallet, cell phone, even an engagement ring. We soon learned that each of them is mourning a far more significant loss of their own. Reflecting on their stories, Maria slowly is able to achieve her own resolution. Our next novel is a suspense novel, The Arhat's Son, by veteran writer Charleston Ong. This is a story of family secrets, the repercussions of infidelity, and a father pitted against his son in a wealthy Chinese Filipino family, searching for their true successor. Okay, this will still be released at the start of next year, but the novel is complete. It's 276 pages, manuscript form. So, more about this novel. Simon, an offshore gambler, shows up one day on the doorstep of Ignatius Ong, a business magnate, claiming to be his illegitimate son from an affair he had in China. Ignatius thinks that he's meant to replace his favored son, who had died at the start of the global pandemic. Hence, he believes that Simon is the Arhat, or in Buddhism, the worthy son. The son meant to manage and inherit his business empire. His eldest, Iggy, whose talent is for literature and not for business, is suspicious of Simon. He unmasks Simon with the help of his favorite creative writing student, Vanessa, at the risk to Vanessa's life. In her words, he entered our lives like a storm and disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a slew of mysteries and bills. The saddest thing is, he seemed to have taken away Ignatius Sr.'s heart, his desire to live. He could have been the son Sr. thought he deserved at last. So this book may be compared to some best-selling novels like Pachinko, the dynastic novel, and the suspense novels Justice Hall and The Talented Mr. Ripley. The author, Charleston Ong, is an award-winning writer, film producer, and director who has won the Philippine National Book Award. He has written 5 short story collections, including his complete short stories, which we are about to publish, and 3 novels. He is the writer, co-producer, and director of the acclaimed film Tanabata's Wife, who won him Best Picture in the Tofarm Film Festival in 2018, and Best Adapted Screenplay for 2019 at the Filipino Academy of Movie Arts and Sciences. So he's an established writer who writes about Philippine culture and history, seamlessly incorporating these into an exciting story about a Chinese Filipino family. So if you are interested in any of these titles, you may contact us, Will Flores Publishing. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Raisa. Thanks. And up next, we have Mina V. Esguerra, author and publisher.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Mina V. Esguerra. I am a romance author and publisher and founder of writing community Romance Class. I write English language, new adult and contemporary fiction, always with romance as a main feature. I've written and published 28 titles. On to the titles that I'm pitching today. First, I would like to share that I love heist fiction. Heists, con artists, scammers, I love all of it. My book, Scambitious, is inspired by con artist and gentleman thief fiction, such as Ocean's 11, BBC's Hustle, and Arsène Lupin. a heist novella told in 4 parts. It's about main character Elizabeth Madrid, currently the darling of Manila's high society. Everyone loves her, everyone wants to be her, but no one actually remembers her from school, from work, or wherever she claims to be from. Because in Manila, it doesn't matter who you are. What matters is who you know and what you can do for them. Join Elizabeth and her sexy accomplices as they prey on the powerful, stealing jewelry, property, museum artifacts, and an election. Do they get away with it? Yes, they do. Scambitious is sexy and modern new adult fiction, full of scheming characters, and shows a Metro Manila that is both new and old, both shiny and dark. Scambitious is being developed for adaptation by Bold MP based in Los Angeles, California. Translation and distribution rights are available. I am also a fan of ice skating, and the second book that I'm pitching is Kiss and Cry, a hockey and figure skating romance. Inspired by some favorite movies from my childhood, The Cutting Edge and The Mighty Ducks, and also being a fan of best-selling hockey romances by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. But what if it was a hockey romance in the Philippines? Does the Philippines even have a hockey team? Yes, we do. A gold-winning national hockey team built from the ground up by Filipinos in the Philippines, who grew up in the Philippines, who grew up in Europe, and grew up in the United States. Kiss and Cry is an adult contemporary romance about Filipino-American hockey player Ramirez Diaz-Tan, who has decided to move back to the US and retire from the game for good. But he has one last bit of unfinished business. Calindo Valerio, the one who got away, the gold medalist figure skater who was not allowed to date anyone while she was focused on competing. But he's about to leave, and she actually decides to give him a chance. Kiss and Cry is a steamy, sexy adult romance that also provides a global view of hockey, rarely seen in books and media. It is still a classic Filipino story because ultimately the conflict is, does he stay in the Philippines or go back to the US? The book makes the case, though, for a world that is actually bigger than just Manila and Texas, and that home is where your heart is. In their case, it's Manila for now, but they have world adventures to come. Translation and distribution rights are available. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mina. Thanks for your presentation. And our next publisher we're going to hear is Summit Media, presented by Leo Mangubat, who is the editor-in-chief.
Hello, good day, everyone. I hope my audio is coming in loud and clear. I am Leo, editor-in-chief of Summit Books. So we are the print and publishing arm of one of the biggest digital media lifestyle networks here in the Philippines. And so I think that's one of our strengths as a publishing house. We really leverage this media network to kickstart conversations about our books. So we publish a wide variety of titles across a wide variety of genres, but I think our bread and butter is our popular romances. So we were among the first in the region to take very popular stories from Wattpad and publish them as print books, and introducing these very popular writers on digital to a wider mainstream audience. So our biggest success story is the author of the first novel that we'd like to pitch to you now. So her name is Jonax. Her Wattpad name is Jonax. She is the most followed writer on Wattpad at the moment with more than 5 million subscribers. And her works in total have accumulated over 117 million reads. Her print books have been published with Summit since over the past decade or so. Her breakout hit was a two-part book that we published in 2015 called Heartless. So we initially published it in 2 parts, but over the years we compiled it into 6 editions. So the combined sales of all of these editions are at 70,000 copies already. So next slide, please. So Heartless is at its core a love triangle between Corinne, so she's our protagonist, and 2 brothers. One of them is emotionally available and the other is emotionally unavailable. So it's this love triangle that I think has struck a chord in our readers. So it is a very roller coaster romance that takes them through ups and downs of a woman dating 2 brothers, or falling in love, trying to fall in love with one brother, but being pursued by another. And spoiler alert, the emotionally unavailable brother is the one who ends up with Corinne in the end. But I think that journey was what really struck a chord with all of our readers. So next slide. So one of Jonak's strength is that she writes very flawed characters who have potent desires and that they're not afraid to express these desires. She really takes her characters through the ringer. The ups and downs really make this book a page turner. And the book was initially published, well, written and published in Tagalog, but we believed in it so much that we commissioned an English translation last year. We believe that it will have a global audience, not just among the Filipino diaspora, but among romance fans of all stripes all across the world. Next, the second book that we want to talk about is not from Wattpad. It's an original fantasy novel written by author Mickey Ingles, who also moonlights as a sports lawyer in his day job. So Alinam, as you can see, is actually Manila spelled backwards. So so we took advantage of that in our promotions, with the animation as well. But basically, it's the story of Diego Domingo, who falls into a portal into an alternate reality, Manila. So it's the first book in a trilogy. The first book was published in 2020. The second book was published just last year, and the writer is currently finishing up the final book in the trilogy. Our author Mickey was able to have a book tour in the German embassy last year. It was very well attended, and there was lots of interest among the attendees, both within the Filipino community and outside of the Filipino community, to bring Alinam to a wider stage. So what is Alinam about? So next slide, please. As I said, it's a very Narnia-esque story of a young, dorky Filipino boy who falls into a portal and arrives in an alternate reality, Manila, along with two other friends. Along the way, they discover that this world is packed full of magic and mythological creatures, and that in their journey to get back to their own world, they will find that they will get caught up in this war that affects both of their worlds, and they will have to find a way to stay in the middle of that and to not just get home, but to make sure that all of their worlds are safe. So Alinam, as I said, sorry, next slide, please. Alinam, as I said, the greatest strength of this is it's a very imaginative setting. It's based on turn-of-the-century colonial Spanish Manila. So it's a very steampunk take on that. And I think this is something that will have global appeal as well. In addition, it touches on very contemporary Filipino issues like for example, the drug war or the rise of fascism. It does have a lot to say about that for both the first and the second books. And another important thing, though, is that it's really it's for fans of Filipino history. This book also stars a lot of characters that are familiar to people who have studied about Philippine history. So they play very important roles in the story as well. But again, it's a middle grade book, so all the themes that are important to us are there, such as friendship, bravery, courage, being true to yourself, and growing up. The hero's journey of Diego from a dorky, grade conscious kid to a multiversal hero is something that readers really appreciate. And we'd love for you to take a look at this book as well. So those are our two books for a consideration. Thank you again for listening, and we hope you can contact us for rights and any other inquiries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Leo, for your presentation. And we are already moving on to the second last publisher of today, which is University of the Philippines Press, represented by Neil Kenneth Yamandre, who is Assistant Director.
Hello, everyone. Inspiring presentations from fellow publishers. So once again, I'm Kenneth Hamandre, the Assistant Director of the University of the Philippines Press. Our mandate is to produce literary and scholarly nations for the nation. I will highlight two works that have creative and cultural significance. First is Snakes in the Grass by Patrick Everard, who is from England and has settled in the Philippines to enjoy the island life. If you can recall what Therese mentioned about the Philippines, having wonderful beaches. So Snakes in the Grass starts with murder and ends with murder in Philippine politics. This is a vivid journey of dictatorship, revolution, and what we should learn from history. The interesting bit is that it is a work of fiction, heavily based on real events. So this topic in particular continues to captivate the world when it comes to corruption being immodific, if you've heard the expression. And right now we are in a Marcos presidency. So from this creative title, we move to a cultural importance for the next, which is Revisiting Usog, Pasma, Kulam by Dr. Michael Tan. It is a nonfiction on the culture of health, focusing on mystical theories. For example, why do we insist on supernatural to explain our illnesses, similar to Asians and Latin Americans? This book critiques folk medicine as influenced by Western medicine. For example, we say puera usog to protect a baby from a stranger with an evil eye. Yes, these are all superstitions from different parts of the country, but explained within broader social context. Is a quick reference about soul, witches, faith healing that deconstructs medical systems because it helps community-based health programs. So these two titles distinctly represent the Philippines as part of the global South. We strongly believe that there's interest because it showcases a range of Philippine culture. These two titles at least share insights on local corruption for Snakes in the Grass and paradigm shifts on health. And what we hope to achieve for these is a readership in Europe and the world on two things: anthropological and political intersections, because these themes have these titles have themes that are universal and enduring. So Snakes in the Grass and Revisiting Usog, Pasma, and Kulam are among the titles of the UP Press, which are bestsellers, critically acclaimed, and award-winning. And these are timely in a post-truth era. As part of the UP Press, we take pride in the availability of marketing and academic materials and systems. Plus, we have the Department of European Languages, which handles German courses, and we do have professors who teach German. To end, the UP Press for nearly 60 years has published more than 1,000 titles, and I believe this is just a part of our wonderful collection that we want to share to the world our distinct literary and scholarly perspectives. We look forward to talk about rights, profits, and a partnership that strengthens global understanding through our books. So once again, I'm Kenneth Hamandre, Assistant Director of the UP Press. You can get in touch with press@up.edu.ph. Maraming salamat po. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. And it's actually our last publisher for today now presenting. It's Vibal Publishing Group, represented by Jelo Lopez, who is the product head.
Hello, guten Tag. My name is Jalo Lopez, Chief Product Officer of Vibal Group. We are one of the larger publishing houses in the Philippines, and we publish textbooks, trade books, and children's books. Last year, we have celebrated our 70th year in the industry, and in the past 20 years, our trade book titles that we release primarily concentrate in arts, history, and social sciences. For today, we are proud to present to you two of our titles from our repertoire. I'm going to go dark very quickly, so bear me out for this one. The first book is Pugot, Head-Taking, Ritual Cannibalism, and Human Sacrifice in the Philippines by Narciso Tan. The word Pugot in Filipino can be translated into English in two different ways. Pugot, the verb, means to decapitate, and pugot, the noun or the adjective, refers to the headless one. Prior to the introduction of Islam and Christianity, deeply held religious beliefs led various Philippine communities to sanction ritualized forms of violence, human sacrifice, cannibalism, and head-taking. While it may sound as barbaric or primitive, the author describes how these practices can be found across the entire Philippines, from the mountains of the Cordilleras in the north down to the tribes of Lake Cebu in Mindanao. This ambitious book weaves together historical data and archaeological studies with traditional myths, legends, and songs to create a seamless narrative of some of the misunderstood aspects of Philippine culture and to shed light on our deeply rooted cultures of violence. This book received the John Cow Prize for Best Book in History during the 41st National Book Awards and the Gintong Aklat Best Book in History in 2023. The second book is Joan Orendain's Children of War, Memories of World War II in the Philippines, 1942 to 1945. While many of the books about the World War II tell the many stories from the Western Hemisphere, Children of War highlights the haunting stories coming from the Pacific theater of World War II. This time, through the eyes of the children who lived through it. Writer and journalist Joan Orendain presents a uniquely poignant accounting of one of the most formative events in the lives of her generation, that of the children of a nascent Philippine Republic forced into the center of a ravaging war. From the tense uncertainty of the first outbreak of war and looming invasion, to day-to-day struggles and small victories of life under occupation, to the carnage and unrelenting horror of the final battle for liberation, the narrative uncovers lifelong scars carried by those who had to grow up before their time. All rights for these two books are available, and if you are interested, feel free to contact me through the email in your screen, allopez@vibalgroup.com. So that's it. I appreciate your time. Dankeschön.
Thank you very much, Edo. So we got to the end of our pitching session today. I would like to thank all the presenters very much for their interesting titles, for their time, for keeping the time. Excellent. I didn't have to stop anyone. Very well done. Thank you very much. And thanks to the audience for listening to us. As we have some time left, we could maybe give the audience the chance to ask a few questions if there are any via chat or via microphone. But before that, maybe I will again give the information. If you're wondering where to find those titles, we will send an email to all of you who have participated today, giving you the contacts of all our presenters. So if there's anything that has caught your interest, you can get back to them directly. And you will also be able to find a recording of the session and the titles that were pitched on the Translator Forum's website. So I thought there were many interesting titles today. I took a lot of notes and I learned a lot. So thank you very much for that. And I hope the audience has enjoyed it as well. Yeah, and are there any questions maybe?
Yeah, I would also like to step in and say, yeah, thank you so much. I mean, it was amazing to hear so well organized the presentations of your titles, and you all kept your time amazing. But before I continue, Sylvia has a question. Would you like to open your mic and ask your question, Sylvia?
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, everybody. I mean, I believe that we Italians, all different nations, as guest of honor, we should do something like that. Thank you so very much. We will try to copy that because you. Listen, so I got two practical questions regarding two books. The first one regarding Anvil, a Cabinet of Curiosity. I understand that if you have an idea, a profile of different objects from prehistory until today's, which tell you something about Filipino cultures. How that is accurate? Is just pop culture something strange which could come from me that I love this and that, or there is a proper idea so that if I'm an European, I will trace back what it is through artifacts, through main things I can track back Filipino cultures? Is that or just a a real just curiosity and an idea of author? This is my first question. The second one is regarding Vibao. Gilo, what you said about Putong, I want to understand, because you said that there was this culture of violence in pre-Islamic and pre-Christian times, which is, we consider, tied to tribes, to a situation, barbarian situation, which was more or less like in Europe, everywhere, of course. Why do you say that it is important to take responsibility of that period or to know that more? Is it interesting? To me, of course, I say it's interesting as a phenomenon to know better, because it was a basis of formation of a culture, of course. But why it would be important to know that today? Thank you.
So who wants to go first? First question was for Anvil, right? And second
Yeah.
for Vibal.
Hi, thank you so much for your question. Some of these are relics from our past, like popular, let's say popular paintings or rocks, or like basically things that have that generate interest for historians, not just Beth Ocampo, the writer, but different historians. And then there are other things as well, like candy wrappers that have meanings by our ancestors. So those are the, I hope I answered your question.
And it arrives until nowadays also. Is there some objects as well of, I don't know, say design, but of pop culture as well? Because I believe artifacts can be also interesting nowadays, of course, as pop culture in a way, or until what time?
Sorry, I think so I think the internet cut you off, but your question is if there are popular culture objects. Well, the objects are mostly confined in Philippine lore and Philippine popular culture. So yeah, thank you.
Maybe if you have an abstract of the book and maybe some pages that you could send to Sylvia, perhaps then she could get a better understanding of it.
Good idea, an index and one chapter, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We'll send a sample.
Okay, perfect. Okay, second one.
Hi,
Vibal.
Sylvia. Yes. Good morning to you. Good afternoon for me. So, regarding your question about why is it important that we go back to these kinds of culture and how it is relevant in our current times, I'd like to answer that questions twofold. Number one is for the book Pugot, knowing these kinds of rituals and rituals would allow us to learn more about ourselves and how these kinds of rituals emanates until how some of our cultures there are leftover behaviors that are deeply rooted from our primal past. So that would give us insight on how we move forward on who we are and how would be able to go forward with it. Secondly is about how the book describes our culture of violence or bloody past. Although as late as 1945s, this gory details such as head taking are still practiced, especially in the mountains of Cordilleras, right? But what the book tells us is that this bloody past could give us insight as to how we behave this way in the country right now, especially, for example, in the light of although less bloody, but still very very antagonistic devices or politics could play out in the country, especially in the rural area. So that gives us those kinds of information. And the book Pugot tells us how to view that past, and then probably refocus our lens and how we view our behaviors in the current times. Thank you.
Does this answer your questions, Sylvia?
No, that's interesting because, of course, the idea that we have, not me, I remember the time of Marcos when I was young, etc. But still, for us, the impact that we have a Filipino culture, like in Italy or in Europe, is really one of the nicest one. Also in the Emirates, I know so many Filipinos, lawyers, people with whom I have been working, and it is such a wonderful experience. So somehow, the fact of narcos, mafias, violence of the state is something that it looks like a phenomenon that you have Italy, Mexico, Colombia, Germany, wherever you go, you have this. But, to go anthropologically inside the roots, unfortunately, also the cultural violence has got something radicated in every culture with its own features. So maybe to be aware of that, and nowadays it helps you to take it away somehow, and to be conscious of what can be back if you have a civil war or whatever. So thank you so very much. Thank you. But I love the Philippines anyway.
I think we all do. And the more we get, the more we love them.
Are there any more questions or comments?
Can I join with my question?
Sure.
Yes, I've heard that one of the representatives told about in Manila, it's important whom do you know and with what you can work for them or something like this. I would like to ask to clarify this, please, because I'm going to visit Manila for the next year. I would like to be ready for everything that I can meet. That's why. And I met Filipino persons the first life in my life, the last year in Selangor, in the Selangor Fellowship. Very hospitable people, and your literature is very impressive. I have met some books from your foreign trade, and what the meaning of the Sylvia. She talks about when we choose the historical events in fiction, it's not affects us badly, because in fiction, in novels, you meet the history matters in not so distorted view as it happened the many years ago. That's what book persons are always interested to meet the historical processes in very calm way, not so aggressive that it happened the years ago. And that's why I'm thankful for Sylvia for mentioning this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the comment that you referred to was from Mina Esguerra. So Mina, do you want to say something about it? I think it was
Yeah,
a
so
quote from your first
Is that,
novel.
I'm wondering if that was my description of my story. So that is the simple way that I describe how someone can actually con themselves into high society in Manila. It's because the way that society works here, it's very much who you know, who your connections are. It almost doesn't matter where you came from, as long as you know the right people. So if you're visiting, we can use that advice in a very friendly manner, meaning you have met you have met at least 10 people from Manila today. We can recommend the best places that you can visit, and also like food, of course, if you're going to try anything. But it as it goes with traveling or friendships, it sort of applies also to various parts of society, and that's why I brought it up.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions, comments, travel plans that we should discuss?
Now, I've got a question regarding if I can do that, if there is still some time, just a second. I'm very interested in understanding what do you, a Filipino publisher in Manila or anyway in your country land, even if some of you have known us for so many years and you're traveling everywhere in the world, and you the world better than Europe, better than me probably. But a question, what is the connection that you feel between the actual culture in the Philippines culture and all the young people, the new generation who were born maybe in the United States, in Europe, in the Emirates, etc., who started from there? So they have memories of parents, grandparents, and probably they are connected. But what is the connection between this community as far as you know? I don't know for whom is the question, because I'm just thinking if this generation that I see, for instance, in Milano, they are really Italians. You would never think they are Filipinos somehow, but you know, we are so different, so not so different. So we have so many people here in Milano. But how well connected are the new generation with your publishing activities? Can you answer me? Can you give me an idea? Maybe Anthony knows so well everything, or someone of you. What is the connection? If there is still a tradition, or maybe just things for young people get through, or maybe they love the folklore lore or the tradition, the ancient tradition. What is the connection?
Maybe Therese would want to respond first.
Go ahead, Tuni.
Yeah. Well, there's still a very strong connection. Since we do not look at them as separated from the Philippines. That's why we have the diasporic literature in connection with our current local literature in the Philippines. We still acknowledge that strong rootedness, especially our authors writing outside, our authors writing in diaspora. So we have them in not just in Europe, we also have them in Oceania, in Australia. We also have them a lot in the Middle East, and this also impact in their own communities. That's why connecting their communities to our communities, and there's still that strong Filipino connection in those diasporic connection and those diasporic authors, and they still bring with them their Filipino stories, our Filipino stories, not just in the Philippines, but bring it to a worldwide context with their experience in that current diasporic situation. Therese? I hope I answered your question, Sylvia.
Therese, nice to see you, Therese. How?
Yes, wonderful to see you, Sylvia.
Well, we are expecting to have a reciprocal party between Italian and Filipinos in Frankfurt because of a guest of honor. We have to organize something, our two nations together.
Yes, we must. Any party, we are good to go.
Okay.
Hello. Hello, Claudia.
Hey, Pak Nong.
Yeah, it's Nong. I just want to know more a little bit about Archipelago of Stars. This is quite unique because it's telling about Moro, I think. Can I have more explanation from Ateneo Dinaka, I think? Ateneo Dinaka? Archipelago of Stars. Can you hear
again,
me?
please? The question is about
I mean, I just want to know a little bit more about the story.
The
It's a non-fiction, right?
Archipelago of Stars is a book of
because
essays.
I just essays, right?
It's a book of essays.
Yeah, can you tell me more? The slang of the essays.
the Archipelago of Stars is written by Gutierrez Mangansakan, who is an essayist and a filmmaker who is based in Maguindanao. It explores the poetics and politics of being queer in that particular region in the Philippines that is identified as Islamic territory, as more often we think of the Philippines as a Catholic nation, but no, it's not just the Catholics here or the Christians here. We also have a very interesting population of Muslims creatives who are now also writing and doing cinema. So it's interesting that this kind of publication is published not in Manila, but in another area in the Philippines where I come from. It's because we are trying to, in a way, we're trying to develop a new ecology for our books that Filipinos, writers from the region should be reading fellow writers from the regions.
Okay, thank you. It's interesting because of the, I
Okay.
mean, the difference between Moro and the other parts of the Philippines, right? It's quite interesting. Okay, thank
We
you.
can carry on our conversation if you be kindly
of
give
course,
us your
yes.
email.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Marcella, are you still there? I can't see
I'm
you.
still
Oh
here.
yeah, there you are. Okay, good.
Cool. Yes.
Okay, that's, I think there are no other questions, right?
Yeah, maybe I can just say for the German publishers who are here, if you are interested in titles from the Philippines, you can always reach out to Litprom, send us an email. We have a newsletter that will inform you about anything that will be going on, not just Philippines, but also our other projects. If you're not on the mailing list already and you are interested in to join it, please send us an email. I will send the message in the chat. Send the address in the chat, and yeah, that's all from Litprom for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. And thank you to everyone who presented these really interesting titles, this potpourri of titles from different genres and different directions. I also thought it was really interesting and inspiring. And this is not all. There's much more to come. 2025 is still far away, and we have a few months to go before the book fair. And perhaps, Charis, could you give us a little outlook on what else we can expect to hear from the Philippines until or before the book fair 2024, and maybe also at the book fair?
Oh, okay, perfect. We have a couple of other programs with FBM. We are doing the Hof in August. Oh my goodness, is it August
29th?
29, and then we have another program on October 7th, and we will talk about the Philippine market, which I'm sure all of you want to enter.
It's a masterclass, and all of this is happening online, right?
Online, yes. And then in terms of programming for the Philippines during FBM, we have representation at the Asian stage, of course. So that's for 3 days. We will be in the international stage, and we have our wonderful. We're bringing 50 delegates in. One of them is who is our first speaker, Tuni? I'm blanking out.
That's okay.
For the international stage, oh my goodness, she's just here. Tuni, I will send everyone.
So we have programs at the international stage. So we have Patricia Evangelista. She'll be talking at the international stage on Frankfurt, and she'll also be talking at the Art Plus stage. We also have Mina Esquera, who was pitching a while ago, who will be giving a talk at the new adult stage at Frankfurt this October, and a lot more. And on October 17 at 5 p.m., we invite you all. We have the Philippine reception at our stand. I'll email everyone about the stand location, it's at Call 5.1.
Okay, and in addition to all of those stands, our national stand, we have our in comics, we have in the new adult section, which is the new section in Frankfurter Buchmesse. We have our educational stand. So yeah, so we will be there. We're trying to take over. And of course, collaborate with all of you. And again, we do have our translation program, and that is open to all of you. We noticed on the chat box there are so many translators, and we would love to collaborate with all of you. So yes, so our email is all there. Claudia will be sending you all of the information. Please follow us. We do have a Facebook, Instagram, and all of that. National Book Development Board Philippines, and all of our publishers have all of their social media handles. So there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, wonderful. So just to recap, so there will be another 3 online sessions before the book fair. One will be a so-called master class, which will be an overview of the market in the Philippines and how to work with the book market in the Philippines. Then there will be a session that's called the Hof. I'm sure many of you have joined the session beforehand. And it's like a networking session where you will also get a lot of information about the Philippine market. Then there will be an online matching session, which we'll be organizing also before the Frankfurt Book Fair. And apart from these 3 sessions, when you are, if you're still interested in other Filipino titles, Litprom will put out a brochure with a selection of 20 titles from the Philippines, which are available for translation and for which the translation grant is also eligible. So there's a lot to look forward to. One last thing that I would like to mention, Charis also mentioned that the Philippines will be having events at the Asia stage. So this is a new stage, not a really new stage, but after the pandemic, a new stage, which we'll be presenting, and it will be focusing on the markets and also on authors from Asia, from all of Asia. So we're also really excited to see to develop the program together with the Philippines and all the other Asian nations. So yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, then I think we are getting to the end of this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. Thank you so much to all of you who presented these interesting titles to us today. Thank you, Marcella, for moderating the session, and Charis and Tuni and everyone from the National Book Development Board for preparing it so well. Charis, a word from you?
Again, thank you very much, Claudia, and thank you all for sharing space with us. We look forward to collaborate with all of you. So hope to see you in the next session on August 29.
Wonderful. Okay, and as mentioned, we will send you the information. We will send you the file, or we will put the file somewhere where you can download it. And yeah, all the information will be accessible and available for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Arrivederci. Ciao. Ciao a tutti.
All the best. Thank you so much.
Ciao Lawrence. Ciao.